30 years of being your son, and this is how you repay me? I slammed the document onto the kitchen table, my voice cracking. Mom's smile vanished instantly. Dad froze, coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips. I'd found it by accident when helping them organize their home office for tax season. There it was, nestled between utility bills and bank statements. A recently updated will that completely erased me from any inheritance while giving everything to my older brother Jason. Everything. The modest 3-bedroom house they'd lived in for 30 years. Dad's pension. Mom's jewelry. Even the family photo albums. Daniel, honey, you weren't supposed to. Mom started, her voice unnaturally high. Clearly, I cut her off. My hands were shaking. I wasn't supposed to know I've been written out of my own family. Dad carefully set his mug down. This isn't how we wanted to have this conversation. When exactly were we going to have it? After you were dead? The bitter laugh that escaped me sounded foreign to my own ears. Were you ever going to tell me? They exchanged that look they perfected over 40 years of marriage, the one that excluded everyone else in the room. Mom nervously twisted her wedding band. It's complicated, Daniel, Dad finally said. That was it. The explanation for writing me out of their will was it's complicated. I'd spent my entire adult life trying to make them proud. Law school, passing the bar, taking a job at a respectable firm instead of the higher-paying corporate position I wanted. All to hear them say they were proud of me just once. Meanwhile, Jason bounced between jobs, borrowed money he never repaid, and somehow remained a golden child. I need to go, I said, snatching the will from the table. I'm making a copy of this. Daniel, wait. Mom reached for my arm, but I pulled away. Don't touch me right now. I can't. I just can't. I walked out, ignoring their calls. In my car, I rested my forehead against the steering wheel and tried to breathe. My phone buzzed with a text from Jason. Mom says you're making a scene again. Grow up, bro. Amazing. They'd already called him. I didn't respond. Instead, I drove to the nearest copy shop and made 3 copies of the will. Evidence. Protection. Just in case. For 5 days, I didn't answer their calls. On day 6, I returned from work to find Jason lounging on my apartment steps. The prodigal brother emerges, he smirked, standing to his full height, still 2 inches taller than me at 34. Mom's been crying for days. That's emotional manipulation, and we both know it, I said, unlocking my door. What do you want? He followed me inside uninvited. They're worried about you. They're worried about what I'll do with what I found. I corrected him, dropping my briefcase. Did you know? Jason shrugged, examining my living room like he was appraising a property. About the will? Yeah, they told me a few months ago. And you were fine with it? Taking everything? Danny, be realistic. You're the successful one. Harvard Law and all that. I'm still getting my shit together. He flopped onto my couch. Besides, Mom and Dad need someone to take care of them eventually. And that can't be me because you've always had one foot out the door. Looking down on this family, thinking you're better than us. I laughed. Is that what they told you? That I think I'm better than everyone? I went to law school on scholarships and student loans, which I'm still paying off. I work 70 hours a week. I haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. Jason waved dismissively. See? Always the martyr. I opened my mouth to argue, but stopped. This was pointless. Jason had always twisted things to make himself the victim. I think you should leave, I said quietly. Not until you promise to call Mom and Dad. They're really upset. They've written me out of their will and they're upset. The absurdity was almost comical. Jason stood, suddenly serious. Look, there's stuff you don't know, okay? Family stuff. They have their reasons. What family stuff could possibly justify this? I gestured to the copy of the will on my counter. It's not my place to say. He headed for the door. Just call them. After he left, I poured myself a drink and stared at my phone. Against my better judgment, I called my mother. Daniel. Her voice was teary. We've been so worried. I found out I've been erased from my family's legacy, Mom. I needed time. It's not what you think, sweetheart. Your father and I just what? Decided Jason deserves everything and I deserve nothing? What have I done that's so terrible? She sighed. Can you come for dinner tomorrow? Both of you? We need to talk about this as a family. Against my better judgment, I agreed. I arrived at 6 p.m. sharp the next day, a folder tucked under my arm. Mom hugged me too tightly at the door. Dad offered a stiff handshake. Jason was already there, beer in hand, looking smug. I made your favorite, Mom said, ushering me to the dining room. Pot roast. The scene was surreal. The same dining table where we'd celebrated birthdays and Thanksgivings. Now the setting for what? My disinheritance party. We ate in strained silence until Dad cleared his throat. Son, about what you found. Let's not pretend this was accidental. I interrupted. You updated your will 4 months ago, according to the date. This was a deliberate decision. Mom put down her fork. Daniel, you have to understand. Your brother needs more security than you do. Because I worked hard for my career while I stopped myself, looking at Jason. No offense, but you've never held a job longer than 8 months. See? This is why, Jason snapped. You've always thought you were better than me. I don't think I'm better than you. I just don't understand why my parents are punishing me for being independent. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough. Nobody's punishing you, Daniel. We're trying to protect Jason. From what? Silence fell. Mom and Dad exchanged another one of their looks. Jason has some financial difficulties, Dad finally said. I turned to my brother. What does that mean? Are you in debt? Jason stared at his plate. He owes some people money, Mom said quietly. A lot of money. What people? I pressed. I got into some gambling, Jason mumbled. Online stuff mostly. Sports betting. I sat back, stunned. How much? More silence. How much, Jason? About $80,000. Dad answered for him. The room spun. $80,000. More than my annual salary. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. Jason gambled away 80 grand, and your solution is to give him everything in your will? How does that make sense? We're trying to make sure he has something to fall back on, Mom explained. A fresh start after we're gone, while ensuring I get nothing for being responsible. What kind of lesson is that? Dad leaned forward. Daniel, you're stable. You have a career, prospects. Jason needs a safety net? Perpetual bailouts? When does it end? I opened the folder I'd brought and pulled out a stack of papers. I went through my records last night. Do you know how much money I've loaned Jason over the past 5 years? $23,000. Money I didn't have to spare while paying off student loans. I slid the documented transfers across the table. Money he promised to repay but never did. Money that could have gone toward a down payment on a house. But I helped because that's what family does. I looked at Jason. I never once held it over your head. I never even mentioned it again. Jason wouldn't meet my eyes. But this, I tapped the will copy. This feels like punishment for my success and reward for his failure. That's not fair, Mom protested. No, what's not fair is discovering that 30 years of being a good son means nothing. Dad's face hardened. We raised you, put clothes on your back, food in your mouth. We don't owe you an inheritance. The words hit like a physical blow. You're right. You don't owe me anything. But I didn't think I had to earn your respect. I stood up, gathering my papers. I'm not asking for money. I'm asking why you think so little of me that you didn't even have the courage to tell me to my face. Daniel, please. Mom reached for my hand. But I was already heading for the door. I need some time. Outside in the cool evening air, my phone pinged. A text from Jason. Drama queen much? It's just money. I blocked his number on the spot. 3 weeks passed. I threw myself into work, taking on extra cases. I declined Mom's calls and Dad's stiff voicemails. Jason tried reaching me from new numbers, which I promptly blocked. Then on a Wednesday, an email arrived from Jason. Need to talk. Not about the will. It's important. Against my better judgment, I replied, what about? His response was immediate, not over email. Meet me at O'Malley's tomorrow at 7. O'Malley's was a dive bar near our parents' house, Jason's preferred watering hole. I almost refused, but curiosity won out. The next evening, I found him hunched over a beer in a corner booth, looking worse than I'd ever seen him. Unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled clothes. You look like hell, I said, sliding in across from him. Yeah, well, he took a long swallow of beer. Things aren't great. What's so important? He glanced around nervously before pulling out his phone. Did you know Dad keeps a separate email account? What are you talking about? He pushed his phone toward me. On the screen was an email from an account I didn't recognize, raris427@gmail.com, to a lawyer. I found it when borrowing his laptop, Jason explained. He forgot to log out. I skimmed the email, my stomach dropping with each line. Dad was inquiring about transferring ownership of the house to Jason's name while he and Mom were still alive. Keep reading, Jason urged. I scrolled down to see the lawyer's response. This strategy could work, but as I mentioned, there may be tax implications. Also, given Daniel's profession, He might contest it after your passing. The more you transfer now, the better. What the hell? I whispered. Jason took his phone back. There's more. They've been planning this for over a year. Dad's already moved most of his savings to accounts with just my name. Why are you showing me this? My head was spinning. He stared into his beer. Because it's wrong. And because. He hesitated. Because I need your help. My help? With what? I'm in deeper than they know. It's not just gambling. I owe some guys, dangerous guys. He lowered his voice. They're threatening me, Danny. And they know about Mom and Dad. Cold fear washed over me. Have you gone to the police? He laughed bitterly. With what evidence? Besides, these aren't the kind of guys who care about restraining orders. So what are you saying? You want me to pay off your debts? No. He looked me in the eye for the first time. I want out. Completely out. New identity, new city, fresh start. I stared at him. You're asking me to help you disappear? That's illegal, Jason. I could lose my license. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal. Just help me figure it out. I don't know how to fix this, and I'm scared. His voice cracked. I'm really scared, Danny. For a moment, I saw the little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. My annoying, frustrating, deeply flawed brother. What about Mom and Dad? Their house. Their savings. That's the other thing. He slid another phone across the table. An older model I didn't recognize. Listen to this. I recorded it last week. He pressed play on a voice memo. Dad's voice filled my ears. Don't understand why we can't just tell him the truth. Mom's response was clear. Because Daniel would never approve. You know how righteous he is about everything. He'd try to stop us. He's going to find out eventually, Dad argued. By then it will be done. The house will be in Jason's name. The accounts transferred. Daniel can't touch any of it. And if Jason gambles it all away? Then what? Silence. Then Mom's voice, softer. He promised he wouldn't. Dad's bitter laugh. Like all the other times he promised. What choice do we have? We can't let him go to prison. He's our son. So is Daniel, Dad said quietly. Daniel doesn't need us, Mom replied. He never has. The recording ended. I sat in stunned silence. They're sacrificing everything to save me, Jason said, his eyes wet. Everything. And it won't even work. These guys will just take it all and come back for more. Why didn't you tell them how bad it really is? He shrugged helplessly. I tried. They don't want to hear it. Mom especially. We sat in silence. The weight of the situation pressing down on us. I need some time to think, I finally said. Jason nodded. I get it. Just don't take too long, okay? Things are moving fast. As I stood to leave, he grabbed my wrist. Danny, I'm sorry. For everything. For the first time in weeks, I believed him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced my apartment until dawn, weighing options, making calls, thinking. At 7 a.m., I texted Jason, meet me at the house at noon. Bring Mom and Dad. Don't tell them I'm coming. His response was immediate. Okay, thank you. I spent the morning gathering documents, making copies, and placing several important calls. By 11:30, I was parked a block from my parents' house, gathering my courage. At precisely noon, I knocked on their door. Mom's shocked face appeared. Daniel, may I come in? My voice was steadier than I felt. She stepped aside wordlessly. In the living room, Dad and Jason sat tensely across from each other. Both looked up in surprise. Daniel, Dad half rose from his seat. We didn't expect. I know, I cut him off, placing my briefcase on the coffee table. Jason asked me to come. You two have been talking? Mom looked between us, confused. Yes, I said simply, taking a seat. And now we're all going to talk. Honestly, for once. Dad's face hardened. If this is about the will again, it's about everything, I interrupted. The will, the secret transfers, and Jason's real situation. Mom paled. What do you mean? I looked at Jason. Tell them. All of it. He swallowed hard, then began speaking. The gambling debts. The loan sharks. The threats. As he talked, Mom began to cry. Dad's face grew ashen. When Jason finished, silence hung heavy in the room. Why didn't you tell us it was this bad? Dad finally asked. Would it have made a difference? Jason countered. You were already giving me everything you had. We were trying to protect you, Mom whispered. By sacrificing Daniel, Jason said bluntly. That wasn't fair. I cleared my throat. I've spent the last 24 hours working on a plan. If everyone agrees, I think we can fix this. All eyes turned to me as I opened my briefcase. I laid out several documents on the table. First, the gambling. I found a residential treatment program that specializes in addiction. 6 months minimum. I pushed a brochure toward Jason. It's non-negotiable. Jason nodded slowly. Okay. Second, the debts. I turned to my parents. We're not paying them off completely. That would require selling the house. Instead, I've negotiated settlements with the legitimate creditors. The loan sharks are another matter. What does that mean? Dad asked. It means I've involved people who can handle them legally. I met his eye. I have connections through work. They'll back off, but Jason needs to disappear for a while, into treatment. How much will all this cost? Mom asked weakly. About $40,000 for the settlements. The treatment center is $15,000 for 6 months. Dad's shoulders slumped. We don't have that kind of money liquid anymore. Not after the transfers. I know, I said. That's why I'm paying for it. 3 pairs of eyes widened. You can't, Jason started. I can and I will, but with conditions. I pulled out another document. This is a contract. Jason, you'll enter treatment tomorrow. You'll complete the program, no matter what. Afterward, you'll live with me for 1 year while working and attending counseling. With you. He looked stunned. Yes. Where I can keep an eye on you. I turned to my parents. As for you two, we need to talk about the will and the transfers. Mom began to protest, but I held up my hand. I don't care about inheriting money. What hurt was being erased without explanation. Being deemed less worthy of consideration than Jason. That's not what Dad started. But it's what you did. I finished for him. And we need to address it. I'm not asking to be put back in the will. I'm asking for honesty and respect. The room fell silent. What do you want from us? Dad finally asked. I took a deep breath. I want family counseling. The 4 of us, once a month, for at least a year. I want open financial discussions. And I want your word that major decisions will be discussed with everyone affected. Mom wiped her eyes. That's it. After everything we did. That's it. I confirmed. I don't want your money. I want my family back. A healthier version of it. Jason reached for the contract, reading it carefully. I'll sign. I'll do the program. Dad looked at Mom, then at me. We'll do the counseling. And we'll fix the will. Make it equal. That's not necessary, I said. But the transparency is. Mom stood suddenly, moving around the coffee table to pull me into a tight hug. I'm so sorry, she whispered against my shoulder. We thought we were protecting one son, but we were hurting the other. I stiffly returned her embrace, still processing my own emotions. After she let go, Dad approached, hand extended. I took it, and he pulled me into an awkward hug. You're a better man than me, he said gruffly. I learned from your mistakes, I replied, not unkindly. Jason was the last to approach. I don't deserve your help. Probably not, I agreed. But you're still my brother. He smiled weakly. When do we start? Right now, I said, pushing the contract toward him. Sign. As Jason signed his name, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet. That would take time. But perhaps the beginning of healing. I've already packed your bag for treatment, I told him. We leave in an hour. Mom looked stricken. So soon. The sooner he starts, the better. I turned to her and Dad. Our first counseling session is scheduled for next month. I'll email you the details. As I drove Jason to the treatment center that afternoon, he stared out the window, uncharacteristically quiet. Why are you really doing this? He finally asked. After everything, why help me? I kept my eyes on the road. Because sometimes family means showing up even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I'm going to make this right, he said. Somehow. Start by getting better, I told him. The rest will follow. That night, alone in my apartment, I poured myself a single drink and toasted the empty room. To boundaries long overdue. To hard conversations. To the painful process of rebuilding what was broken. It wasn't the neat, happy ending of childhood stories. It was messy and uncertain and fragile. But it was honest. And for the first time in months, I slept soundly through the night. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.